Hello, E3 fans, and welcome to the very first episode of the E3 Pro Wrestling Insider Podcast. My name is Ryan Mendez. It is March 22nd, 2017, and today we're going to catch you up on the return of E3 Wrestling, the elimination show that took place this past weekend, and the plans for the future of E3. First off, last week, in what turned out to be a premature statement, an announcement was made by E3 officials that due to the new Fire Pro game set to come out, E3 would be on hiatus until then. E3 officials have apparently changed their mind because we got a show out of nowhere, and that show was Elimination 2017. My sources tell me that E3 Wrestling will continue to use the Fire Pro Returns engine until the end of the season, which would be October. People I've talked to also say that Fire Pro World will be used to finally jumpstart E3 Japan. Now, E3 Japan has tried to get off the ground countless times before, and it hasn't happened, so I guess take this with a big grain of salt. So the Elimination Show was the second show of the year for E3 Wrestling, and it was a solid show, but it lacked singles matches. Every match except for the main event had at least 4 people involved. The action was good. Some complained that it was just a bit too much, I guess. There were a few matches that kind of fell flat. First on the card was the 8-man elimination tag featuring Ella Varse, Jason Gordon, Curtis Cunning, and Ryuji Hoshi versus Noah Gladstone, Christian Moda, Surge, and Solomon Miles. Noah Gladstone just absolutely dominated this match. He got 3 victories and his team didn't lose one fall, so he'll jump to 3-0 on the year and instantly be in the E3 Championship picture now. It was a very, very impressive performance by Gladstone. He's been impressive for a while now. He had that run with Michael Morris as the British Fight Society, and they held the tag titles for 2.5 years. And so now he seems to be making his mark in singles competition. Surge was the man who scored the final fall for his team. And Surge was an interesting choice for this team because it was very obvious that one side was face and the other side was heel, the heel side being the winning side. But Surge has been babyface up to this point for the most part. So I guess what they're trying to do is turn him possibly for a feud with the newest luchador on the roster, Ella Varse, which makes sense. I mean, when you look at Ella Varse, it's hard to picture him as a heel. The match was super one-sided, so there wasn't really much heat to it. I give it 2 stars out of 5. Next up was the Joshi tag match with Shonda LaRose and Vivian Von Bay versus Akina Leadfist and Toyama Hansen. So their plan has been to crown a Joshi Tag Team Champion sometime this year, but they want to do it in a tournament where they have 2 teams from the US and 2 teams from Japan. And they want to hold this tournament on a joint show that's all Joshi. In fact, I'm told that they want to make the Joshi brand its own touring brand that would run smaller towns in the US and Japan. And also the Joshis would work the main shows for E3 and E3 Japan. So basically, they would be put to work. And I'm told that E3 officials are very, very high on the Joshis right now because the Joshis are often putting on better matches than the men. So that's why they want to use them more prominently, definitely on their own shows, but also still mix them into the main cards, just so that when they have the Joshis on the main card and they're down the card, it won't be so bad. It won't look so bad, I guess, is what they're thinking. If they have their own brand too, where they have, Joshis in the main event and Joshis in the opening match and Joshis all the way in between. I haven't heard any word if they're going to mix in men on those cards at all, but I wouldn't throw that possibility out the window. So this joint show that they want to do for the Joshis, it probably is not going to happen until later this year because E3 Japan won't launch fully, at least until this summer, and they have to obviously get their women established too. So at this rate, it might even spill into the next year. So this match, LaRose and Von Bay versus Leadfist and Hansen, was actually very good. Shonda LaRose is pretty incredible. She's the only one. She's in her second year. She won the Rookie of the Year for the last year. for 2016. But she was really the only one in this match that commanded attention while she was in the ring. I mean, it was just very obvious when she was in there that she was the one to watch, and she has a very aggressive attitude and a very aggressive style, kind of a mixed martial arts kind of style. So she's not the best looking as far as actual looks on the roster, but I think that doesn't matter in E3. I think other promotions would definitely try to use that as a way not to feature her. But with E3, it doesn't seem to matter. Akina Ledfist and Toyama Hansen are definitely a good pairing. They have a similar style. They're both originals from the Joshi division. And there was a spot where the fight spilled to the outside, and Hansen gave Von Bay a delayed vertical suplex on the outside. It was just awesome. It just looked great. It's good to see the Joshis mix it up, kind of on the ground, to the point where they don't look so prissy or whatever the preconceived notion may be of the casual viewer. I mean, these girls definitely mix it up. I think Shonda LaRose got thrown into the barricade as well, and so very good hard-hitting action. Had some technical aspects to the match. It was a very good idea to pair Von Bay with LaRose, because Von Bay was originally supposed to be what LaRose is now, and she kept losing, so it never took off. Now she can get the rub from LaRose because, I mean, she's a very good strong style wrestler. Von Bay actually picked up the win in this match with a running Yakuza kick on Toyama Hansen at 16:40. So that was a good win for Von Bay. LaRose doesn't look any weaker for not picking up the win. And the big story is that Akina Ledfist didn't bother to save Toyama Hansen when she was pinned. So they'll probably run something off of that, like they like to do in E3 wrestling. I give this match 3.5 stars out of 5. So next up we had the interview with the Game Changers, which was pretty interesting. So they went through basically what's been going on for the past 6 months or so, with Ken getting into legit cocaine problems and having to go to rehab, leaving his partner Ed to defend the tag belts by himself. Spiro Summers was doing the interview, and he talked to Ed first, and basically Ed said that Ken wasn't being a man because he lost the belts when Ed made Ken defend the titles by himself as a payback, I guess, to Ed having to do the same. Ken implied that Ed was being led by someone, basically implying that maybe there's a manager that Ed will be paired up with. So, I mean, I don't think he really needs one. Ed is a sufficient talker, and he doesn't need to say much anyway, but this kind of looks like they're going that direction. Ed basically told Ken that they were done as a team, told him, "Don't get involved in my matches, don't try to talk your bullshit to me, don't call, don't text, don't mail me a letter, don't even look at me if we happen to pass each other in the hallway or the gym." So these guys are done. Game Changers are done. Obviously, Ed is going to be pushed more as a heel, and Ken is going to be a Southern babyface. And I think Ed's going to do well. I think Ed will actually do very well, because he is a big guy. He's gotten a lot of evolve points from being in the tag team with the Game Changers and them winning all their matches. Not all their matches, but a good chunk of their matches. But I think he, out of all the people on the roster, is probably the one that would give Drevis a run for his money the most out of everybody. I mean, Persia Mask has beaten Drevis before and stuff like that, but Persia Mask is on a bit of a slide. Ed Ray seems to be a good challenger for Drevis, so I'm thinking they'll probably eventually build to that, possibly even build to that for the final show of the year, Zenith, and do Ed versus Drevis for the title if that's an option at that point. So Ken, on the other hand, I don't know how well he'll do. But I am excited to see him in singles action, because everything he's done in the Game Changers tag matches has been pretty good. I mean, he was the worker in this tag team, so it'll be nice to see him out on his own. Next up was supposed to be Lexicon versus Ryan Chambers, but Lexicon never showed up. I'm told this is an angle that they're running, and that Lexicon he didn't have any issues getting to the show because he wasn't booked for the show. So this is just an angle. Chambers tried to get on the mic and call Lex out, but they cut him off, and security escorted him to the back. I'm really looking forward to this match whenever they do decide to do it, because I think it'll be a really good match. I think their styles will match up nicely. But I'm interested to see who's actually going to go over in this match. So instead of Lex versus Chambers, they gave us a tag match between the New Wave Express, Surf King and Flash Flapjack, versus Seraphist, Sirius, and Malik Hussein, which ended in a double countout, which you don't see many of, to be honest with you, but usually Seraphist is involved when you do see it. So they tend to ignore the referee's count. This match was hard to rate because it looked promising, but it ended in a schmoz, so 2 stars for this as well. And then we had the elimination match, which is always an interesting part of the E3 calendar because it usually launches someone into the main event. We're going to run down the eliminations real quick. Persia Mask eliminated Nino Coleman. Mizukin then eliminated Persia Mask, and after that eliminated Brett Showalter. Kano Wilshire eliminated Johnny Fab, then he took out Mizukin, and on top of that, threw out Michael Morris. So Kano Wilshire is kind of known for being a hoss in this match. He tends to get a lot of eliminations. Mizukin actually was someone who won the thing a couple years back, was able to get a title match off of it, and kind of made a name for himself there too. But it came down to Henny O'Flynn versus Kano Wilshire. And when everybody thought Kano was just going to rip through Flynn, Flynn actually eliminated Wilshire to win the 2017 elimination match. This is his second time winning the elimination match. So the elimination match itself, I give 3 stars, 3.5 stars. What it did was it built up nicely. There wasn't an elimination until like 8 minutes into the match, so everything just kind of built and built and built. And then we had elimination after elimination after elimination, so it was an exciting match. It definitely had that build to it, and the fact that Henny O'Flynn won when Kano Wilshire was probably going to be the pick by most people, it definitely made it a little more eventful than usual. So 3.5 stars though. I mean, you're still not going to get a great match out of the elimination match probably. I don't know if we'll ever 5-star an elimination match, but it's a fun match to watch, no doubt. This is, like I said, second time that Henny O'Flynn won the elimination match. He won it back in 2013, where he went on to fight Mato Shante in the main event and won the E3 championship that year, actually, beating Shante with a spinning Olympic hold at 27-22. So now he goes on to face Drevis here in the main event. Drevis has been the E3 champion for 2.5 years now. Really, this match had no right to be as good as it was. And it's not that it was a phenomenal match. It was just the way Drevis has been fighting lately. You're lucky to get past the 8-minute mark with him. I mean, it's pretty much a miracle at this point. Which is funny because the longer Drevis's matches go, the better they are, because the opponent has more of a chance due to Drevis tiring out. So Flynn tried to wear Drevis down with submission holds. Drevis got a lot of lariat spots in. He did his normal lariat after lariat after lariat spot, which always gets over. And he hit a lot of running sentons as well. So it was pretty even for the most part. And Drevis was actually moving around, which is nice, because some matches he doesn't like to move at all. He'll just stay in one spot and try to do move after move. Henio couldn't put Drevis away, and Drevis hit a super freak power bomb for the win at 11:46 to retain the E3 championship. So this is Drevis's 10th title defense in his current reign, which is a record, and this is his 11th career E3 championship defense. This was a good match. It had a lot of suspense, and I even thought at some point that Henio was going to actually put Drevis down, but Drevis continues his reign. I give this match 4 stars out of 5. So overall, not the best event from E3, but honestly, this is a weird event to judge because of all the multi-man matches going on. The main event and the Joshi tag are 2 that are definitely worth seeing, so go out of your way to see those. So since this show came out of nowhere, I think a lot of E3 fans are kind of wondering what they're going to do with running shows from here on out, which of course is a good question because how are you supposed to go to shows if you don't know when they are? My sources tell me, and this is interesting, my sources tell me that E3 is thinking of streaming their live events to Twitch or YouTube and then doing the normal format for the bigger shows. So that could be what they need to grab more attention and keep the train going, or it could be something that they try once and never do again. E3 has had some technical issues in the past, so we'll have to wait and see what they do. We should know soon because they want to run a show as soon as next week, so I guess we'll know by then. But anyway, that's going to do it for the first episode of the E3 Wrestling Insider Podcast. If you have questions for next episode, you can send them on Twitter to @LexMarston, or you can email lexmarston@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.